Hey besties, thanks for stopping by my Clubhouse for a very special episode number 4. Today is Tuesday, September the 30th, and unfortunately the Yankees just dropped the very first wild card game of the series. Luckily for us, there are 2 more games to go, but when Aroldis Chapman allows you to load the bases up, you have to take advantage of that. Unfortunately, the Yankees fell 3-1. The only run coming off of an Anthony Volpe solo home run, and who would have thought Anthony Volpe of all people, right? The offense wasn't completely dead, but it also wasn't alive. You had Stanton, who was nowhere to be found, Grisham nowhere to be found, Austin Wells, Caballero, Ahmed Rosario, Jazz off the bench. Just not a good look. Hopefully the Yankees come out a lot stronger tomorrow, especially after the performance that Max Fried gave today. But with that being said, today we're just going to do a quick little post game, crash out a little bit over this loss, and then we'll play a quick round of pin swipes. I do have a co-host with me tonight. You guys know him. Some of you like him. He is the founder of ESB. I have Rich Rivera with me tonight. So everybody welcome Rich. Rich is having, oh, there he is.
Sorry, I was running late. With all these crash outs that are happening between X and YouTube, I was lost on the way here. But I am here. It is the Clubhouse. It's a late one. Late start, probably latest start in the history of an ESB live stream here. But we had an opportunity, CIARRA, to strike out a post game. We were hoping for a better result, and up until Giancarlo Stanton's last at bat there in the 9th inning, it was looking like that this would have been probably the greatest Clubhouse episode of all time after the completion of such an epic comeback. But yeah, it sucks to go down in games where you're down by just 2 runs and it feels like it's a 10-0 game at all times. Shout out to Volpe, got 2 hits on the game. One thing that we touched on ESB yesterday was the fact that Anthony Volpe last year was one of the better hitters throughout the postseason. And a lot of those stats extrapolated off of one game against the Dodgers, the Grand Slam. But coming out there with the homer against Garrett Crochet, getting the hit to hopefully extend something there for the Yankees in the 8th inning, didn't amount to much. But yeah, we're 1 game into this, and I am already exhausted. And I don't know how many years off your life was taken out in just this game alone. But doing this for 20 plus years, I don't know how much longer I have to live here, CIARRA.
That 7th inning itself, when Max Fried came out and Weaver came in and just was not himself at all, that alone took a year off my life. Longest inning of the entire season. It felt like it was never going to end. First of all, it's way past my bedtime. Second of all, the Yankees were supposed to complete that.
Later over here.
Yeah, so I don't know how you're still functioning. But as soon as Stanton struck out, all my hopes and dreams went out the window, unfortunately. I don't want to fully crash out, because they didn't play terribly, right? The defense looked good. Max Fried gave you a phenomenal start. And the offense, the guys who needed to produce, produced. Aaron Judge gave you 2 singles tonight, right? The big conversation going into the postseason was, will Aaron Judge produce? Or will he revert back to the Aaron Judge that we all remember of previous postseasons? Paul Goldschmidt gave you a couple singles. Cody Bellinger showed up in the 9th inning. So, Volpe was on base a couple times. Volpe stole a base. He got into their head at the end there. If they can just come out tomorrow and do the same thing and just tweak a couple of the minor issues, the bullpen is really the biggest issue, I think. We all saw the stats during the game. They were ranked 23rd overall for the season. That's not what you want. The bullpen has to be. We have to be able to trust them. Max Fried gave you 6 full innings. He gave you 1 out into the 7th, no earned runs. Even with those 3 walks, he didn't give up a single run. Now, with that being said, I have a question for you, because I see a lot of discourse online currently about Max Fried being taken out. He was at 102 pitches. If the Yankees were to make a full postseason push to the World Series, we're looking at 7 starts from Max Fried.
Right.
Do you think that was the right moment to pull Max Fried?
No. I think at that stage, and recognizing the pitch count, look, your opposition went 117 pitches. So the Red Sox knew the importance of taking that first game. The benefit of not only what the Red Sox did, but what the Yankees did is you flip the opposing lineup to be predominantly right-handed. And let's face it, CIARRA, facing Rob Refsnyder, 3 times in a lineup, facing the Nate Eaton player, a couple of these guys I never even heard of until today, by the way. But like facing some of these batters and keeping certain people at bay, like Yoshida and like Nathaniel Lowe on the bench was pivotal to trying to cut through most of that lineup. So I don't agree with them taking out Fried at that point. Fried ran into trouble there again, or even if he up until the point he allows another base runner, then you can pull him. I just don't think at that stage it was a smart move. I think you had another inning of Max Fried there. It would have been a lot to ask, but again, the Red Sox on the other side got 117 pitches out of Garrett Crochet, and they won the baseball game.
I mean, so one of the things I love the most about ESB is that you and I can disagree on things, right? It's what makes it fun. I disagree with you. I think pushing Max Fried too far when we need him for potentially 7 starts could end up blowing up in our faces, right? I do get the other side of the argument, but I did some digging. So the most pitches Max Fried has ever thrown is 111, and that was this season in July versus Tampa. Previous to that, he had thrown 102 when he played for Atlanta. So he was right around his career high. I actually, I disagree with Boone on a lot of things. I'm with him on this one. I think the bullpen needed to step it up there and do their job, and unfortunately they didn't. But let's do a quick shout outs to the chat before we move on. We have a couple people in the building. So my bestie Jacob Petruzzi is here. He's always here. Love that from him. Shout out to CK. We are all dead inside after that one. Roldis Chapman got us again. Shout out to Hector, another bestie. And we have Jordan in the building. And we have Eddie from Mr. Name That Yank. So thank you guys all for being here during this late night post-game episode of the Clubhouse. Now, before we move forward, I did have another question. So going into game 2 tomorrow, it's a must win, obviously. If you don't win tomorrow, you're out. So with that being said, who is the X factor, whether it's from New York or Boston, but who's the X factor for tomorrow's game?
Well, it's an easy answer, but it's not the same. It's Brian Bayo for Boston. I think there's going to be guys coming out into this Yankees lineup today that are going to be ready to go because they didn't get the many opportunities that they were expecting probably in a game 1 scenario. Jazz Chisholm will probably get into start. Ben Rice, we've been so back and forth on what his role should be in this early stage of the postseason. Ben Rice has got to get in the lineup tomorrow. So there's going to be some guys ready to pounce on the righty Brian Bayo, who's not going to be eclipsing what Garrett Crochet did last night. And I think that's the one positive that I'm looking at. I looked at this game as like, listen, you get past Garrett Crochet in game 1, you're winning the series. Like you got through their guy. Now, the only difference between the biggest difference between the Yankees and Red Sox, the Yankees have the pitching advantage in game 2 and if necessary, game 3. And that's what I'm looking at. I think I would trust Carlos Rodon with the ball against Brian Bayo and Cam Schlittler against, I think tentatively it's going to be Connolly Early, the young lefty for the Red Sox. But I think Bayo is going to have to be the X factor for Boston. If Bayo can pitch to the tune of what he's done for most of his career against the Yankees, with the exception of his last start, which happened in Fenway, Brian Bayo is going to be the X factor of what pitcher shows up for Boston. And ultimately, is that going to be the pitcher that's kept the Yankees at bay? And therefore, we're probably going to have a repeat of what we saw tonight. Or is it going to be a game where the Yankees feast on Bayo and push that momentum into a game 3? So Bayo ultimately is the X factor here in tomorrow's game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I also believe that Carlos Rodon is a huge X factor for tomorrow. We talked about it on a Bronx Take recently. The roller coaster of a ride we've had with Rodon since he came over to New York. He came over supposed to be the number 2 behind Cole. He was injured, big contract. We dealt with a bad attitude, the game where he blew a kiss to the fans. But this season, he has really found himself in the pinstripes. Second most wins. Yeah, I truly believe that does help. Or the fact that he went and got lost in the mountains in the offseason. I don't know, but he second most wins in the league, right behind Max Fried. Top 10 strikeouts in the league. I don't think he's gotten enough credit for what he's done this season. If Bulldog Rodon shows up tomorrow, the Yankees can 100% win the game. Tonight's game, there were a few moments where the Yankees didn't capitalize. In your opinion, what was the biggest moment that the Yankees should have capitalized that unfortunately they weren't able to get back and kind of like put that nail in the coffin for them?
It's the bookend of it's actually the bookends of the game. You know, we talked about the ninth inning at length, but even in the first inning, when you put up first and second, and you have still a good chunk of the heart of the order coming up, you needed to strike early on Garrett Crochet there. Mm-hmm. And now, granted, the Yankees were still the first to score with the Volpe home run, but that first inning could have been a nice little start there. Even if they had just scratched across one run, you know, it makes the difference there. And of course, the ninth inning. I mean, the ninth inning is just, that ninth inning is it's so funny between last year's postseason run, this year, and many postseasons before. It comes down to just one inning to frustrate you as a Yankee fan. I mean, 100%. The positive there is there was a fight in the ninth inning. I think the Yankees were just more excited to see a different pitcher than Garrett Crochet out there. And also, Aroldis Chapman just staying in the dugout for a little longer than he should between, you know, the little rally that Boston had, which obviously panned out extremely well for them, adding that extra insurance run. And then the replay review kept Chapman at bay. You can tell that Aroldis was shaky there. And sometimes all it takes, CIARRA, is a pivotal mound visit to change your fortune. And they got that at Chapman. He got the big outs. And once he got through Stanton there, I didn't feel like that comeback was going to be going to go any further than what we had saw with Cody Bellinger lacing that single out in the left center field. So just an unfortunate game. And hopefully you can build up your opportunities early in the game and then strike early on those opportunities. This series is going to go 3 games, folks. I can't see this team going out and dying in 2 games. I think this team is a lot better than what they put out. This will be a 3-game set. Have I felt confident about the Yankees versus the Red Sox throughout 2025? No. But I hope for my own sake I'm wrong, CIARRA. I really do.
Yeah, and Jordan agrees with you, Rich. He thinks the first and the ninth inning was really that pivotal moment for us. And I agree. Garrett Crochet is going to be up for a Cy Young Award this year versus it's him and Tarik Skubal, who went out and struck out 14 batters today in their wild card game. So you're talking 2 incredible pitchers in the American League. So when one of them allows you the opportunity to strike right away, you have to do it. And then Aroldis Chapman. Now, we have a bad taste in our mouth because of the way things ended with him in New York, but he's always been one of the better closers in baseball. Absolutely. And this year, his numbers are just unhuman. So when he allows you to load the bases up, you have to take advantage of that. And unfortunately for me, Stanton was very disappointing. But the good news is today is still September. So Stantober officially starts tomorrow.
So it's just one of those things. We haven't even turned the calendar yet. Yeah. So once he puts the pumpkin on the front porch, now Giancarlo Stanton's going to wake up. Well, here's the thing too. It's like, as much as I want to laugh at that, you know, the problem is, and I stressed this on a Bronx Take earlier, you know, it's also hard to judge some of these players based on the performance of 2 games. Any great player can have 2 bad games in a row. Like it's not facetious to think that, hey, maybe Giancarlo Stanton just has 2 bad games, and then he would have locked into a 3rd game if we get there, you know, or locks into a division series if we get there. It's hard to judge. Again, lack of a better terms, it's hard to judge based on what you're going to do in a very, very short series, but so far so good. So again, these guys just need to come through. We got to build up on some better rallies, and the bullpen's got to get their act together. And it's a shame because coming into this game, CIARRA, it was a .33 bullpen ERA in the last 27 2/3 innings pitch. So the bullpen had looked fantastic. It looked like the lanes had finally made sense. We were looking at a Weaver, Williams, Bednar, and it was Weaver and Bednar to combine for 3 runs each. So it's just an unfortunate game.
Honestly, kind of insane that Williams was the one that went out and did his job, especially just how this season has gone. But just going back to what you were saying about not judging them based on 2 games, I think Stanton has also earned a little bit of grace because if we go back to the last postseason, he carried this team on his back through the ALCS. There is no World Series without Giancarlo Stanton. He also just had his 450th career home run towards the end of the season. So he does get a little bit of grace. But moving forward, tomorrow, before we move into Pinswipes, so tomorrow, if you were to write the lineup, what changes are you making to make sure the Yankees are putting the best team on the field and the best team at the plate?
Ooh. I don't know. Should I even answer that? I feel like that's a spoiler for what we got coming up.
Answer.
Maybe that's a question more for the chat. But I don't know. It's tough because they're in clearly a pickle with, and I guess we could just sort of preview this for PINSWIPES right now, but they're in a pickle with the catcher first base tandem. What do you prioritize at this point? Do you prioritize defense? Because at that point, you got to go with what you went with today with Wells and Goldschmidt, or do you prioritize offense? And at that point, Rice has got to come in for either Goldschmidt or Wells. And I think tomorrow's situation is, these guys got to wake up tomorrow and say, hey, like, what are we willing to sacrifice? Are we willing to sacrifice defense in a pivotal game 2, which is a go home game if you do not win? Or do we need to get a bigger bat in there and sacrifice some security at catcher or first base? Third base, I think Ryan McMahon has to be there. You brought in Ryan McMahon for this purpose to be able to defend behind ground ball inducing left-handed pitchers who are going to face a majority of right-handed batters who are going to pull to the left side of the infield. I was actually, of all the changes that they made, surprisingly it was McMahon that I was actually the most furious about, because that's why you pulled him in to begin with. Now, luckily, defense was not the ailment today. Defensively, this team actually looked pretty good. But tomorrow I expect Ryan McMahon to be in the lineup.
Interesting. I don't think I would have ever expected you to say that. All right. So chat, I would love to hear your answer. What changes are you making for tomorrow? Because we are about to play a special round of PINSWIPES where we are actually going to decide if we're swiping left or right to send these guys into the lineup or onto the bench. We are going to start with everybody's favorite guy. This youngster, he was, he's supposed to be the next coming of Derek Jeter. I say that jokingly because I hate when people say that. Volpe is just 24 years old. This is his second postseason run with the New York Yankees. And, we talked about it earlier. Last season, he gave us a Game 4 Grand Slam. So he's not new to the postseason pressure. Today, he showed up. He gave you a home run and then I believe a single. He was able to take second base because he got into their head. Do we swipe left or right? Do we bring Anthony Volpe back into this lineup tomorrow, or do we leave him on the bench based on his regular season performance where he ended with a .212 batting average and tied with Trevor Story for most errors in the entire major league or the entire American League?
This is, asked me a week ago. I think I would have felt differently. You get 2 hits against a Cy Young finalist, you stay in the lineup. So Anthony Volpe is an easy swipe right for me. Easy swipe right. So Volpe's in there, doing what he's doing at the bottom third of the order. And hopefully, again, just playing good defense. At the end of the day, if we're reliant upon the bottom third of the order to come through offensively, then there must be major issues happening from 1 through 6 in the lineup. But if Volpe's giving me quality defense and he's getting a hit or 2 in the game or just getting on base, creating havoc, this is a player right now that you just got to ride the hot hand a little bit. He homered today, so it's the easy swipe right for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have asked me even 2 days ago, I would have swiped left. But he gave you really quality at bats today. He didn't play bad defense, and he just was locked in my opinion. And honestly, I just want his speed on the bases. We haven't had that in so long. And between Volpe, Jazz, and Caballero, I feel so comfortable with the Yankees running the bases now. And even Dominguez, if he gets into the mix, like just having the young guys with the speed run the bases is one of my favorite things about the Yankees right now. So I'm swiping right and keeping him in the lineup for tomorrow.
All right. I like it.
All right. So our second contestant on PINSWIPES tonight is the second half of the Chicken Farm brothers. We have 26-year-old catcher Austin Wells, who didn't really make an impact either way tonight. He didn't play poorly. He didn't play well. He had there was a little bit of a bad call towards the end of the game on a strike call that Crochet got that Max Fried didn't get earlier in the game for Carlos Narvaez, which I thought was interesting. I'm a little torn on swiping left or right on this one, and I'll tell you why in a second, but I will go ahead and let you decide if you're swiping left or right on Austin Wells.
I think Austin Wells is the one I'm going to sacrifice here. I'm swiping left. And again, I'm taking out the defense here. Austin's coming off an 0-for-3 game. Ben Rice, I think, might have to be the one that goes behind the plate tomorrow in this instance. So, yeah, for me, it's a tough one. Again, it's give or take. You're in a do or die game. You need to sacrifice some defense for some better offense. And in this case, I think I'm going to sacrifice my catcher tomorrow. So I'm swiping left on Austin Wells.
Yeah, so where I'm torn is we didn't really see Boston run, right? So we didn't see Wells have to try to throw anybody out, and that's kind of where we struggled against Boston in recent years. My only concern is we put Ben Rice behind the plate tomorrow, and they run on him. I'm still going to sacrifice Wells and also swipe left just because he didn't make a difference either way for me today. But I do have some concerns moving forward. But that brings us to contestant number 3, who is the best number 22 in all of New York baseball. He is ready for the Super Bowl.
Still running with that.
I'm still running with that. He is ready for the Super Bowl halftime because he is 100% bilingual. So I know he's going to be rocking out to Bad Bunny. But we have Ben Rice. He can be a catcher. He can be a first baseman. He can be a DH. Now, we just swiped left on Austin Wells. So the catcher spot is open. So that leaves either Ben Rice or JC Escar. JC, who we haven't seen in a while here. He might have been driving Uber for the last month for all we know.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going JC Escar here. I definitely don't want a guy with 25 home runs. But no, yeah, we're absolutely swiping right. Ben Rice has got to get in the lineup tomorrow. It's really coming down to, you're not going to put him at DH. John Carlos Stanton's there, regardless of John. Who else, John? Regardless of the real big dumper not having his best postseason performance in one game, Stanton's got to be out there at DH. I obviously have another opinion at first base. I feel a little bit more comfortable right now with Ben Rice behind the plate as opposed to throwing him at first tomorrow, but he's got to be in the lineup. I'm swiping right.
Will the real big dumper please stand up? And we're referring to John Carlos Stanton. Yeah, I'm with you. Ben Rice, he's got to be in the lineup. He was one of the key players, I feel like, in the second in that last third of the season. You just mentioned it, 26 home runs. He found his stride. There was a game against Baltimore where I truly feel like he beat Baltimore by himself. So I would love to see Ben out there tomorrow. I was struggling earlier because I was thinking, if Ben has to take the DH spot, at least Stanton is comfortable coming off the bench to pinch hit. Like, he has a different mindset this season. But I still don't want Stanton out of the lineup, right? Like, he is your best postseason hitter.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah. But we're going to move on to contestant number 4. We have the baldest man on the team, Amed Rosario. I was shocked to see him in the starting lineup tonight. Not because he's not a good player, but because he's the newbie, right? We didn't see too much of him since the trade. He did have a little bit of an IL stint. Again, another guy who didn't make a difference either way. He played good defense, but there was no offense. So, and because, again, there wasn't much to him this season in pinstripes. This one is hard. I will say he's a great teammate. There's this little competition between him and Jason Dominguez on who's going to get out of the dugout first when there's a home run, but that doesn't help us offensively. So, Rich, are you swiping left or right?
Nope. Yeah, it's an easy swipe. This is an easy swipe left. Easy swipe left. I understand what they tried to do tonight. Getting Rosario in there. He's got good career numbers against Garrett Crochet, but again, a 9 at bat sample size.
Right.
You replaced a 30-30 player for Amed Rosario, who, by the way, went over 2. And again, I get being strategic, but this is Garrett Crochet. Rosario's had good numbers against him. Great. Jazz Chisholm's hit 30 home runs, taking 30 stolen bases. You don't think Jazz Chisholm would have had at least one better at bat in this game? So Amed Rosario should have been swiped left today. And if you wanted to deploy Rosario late in the game, knowing that you probably are going to see Aroldis Chapman late, then maybe one of those spots late in the game, you would have brought in Amed Rosario to hit. I mean, the potential is there. Because I can tell you right now, with Trent Grisham's spot that came up in that last inning, that would have been a perfect spot to pinch hit Amed Rosario right there. I would have did it right there. But yeah, I'm swiping left. There's no other purpose for Amed Rosario to be on this team than just to be a cheerleader on the bench. Love you, Rosario. You can't be in the starting line tomorrow.
You are this year's Marcus Stroman. That's all there is to it.
I mean, and is he the boldest guy on the team? I was trying to really think of a bolder player than Ahmed Rosario. Is he like the new Brett Gardner? Is he our new thumb?
He's so bald. Like, I didn't know he was bald when he was first traded here. And then he took his hat off and I was like, what the hell is that? Like, where did that come from? So, I mean, I think, Goldie's kind of bald, but Rosario hasn't beat. He's definitely
Paul Goldschmidt. Goldie's got to give it up. Paul, I don't know what he's got going up on there. And listen, if I get to that point in my life, and hopefully not, I mean, I'm almost there. I gave myself a little bit of a buzz this past weekend, but that definitely goes against the profile picture you've all seen of me on Twitter.
Yeah,
but
right.
When it comes down to Paul Goldschmidt, he looks like exactly what he looks like, a 45-year-old gym teacher who also somehow teaches biology. And that's fine, but I don't know if I need that in my World Series run here. But Goldschmidt, credit him, 2 hits. But no, I'm definitely swiping left on Rosario.
Yeah, I'm also swiping left just because, like I said, there was really it didn't make a difference, and I don't see a postseason moving forward without Jazz, he's been our second baseman all season, and he's a 30-30 player. It just doesn't make sense to me. So, our fifth guy coming up. So to me, Jose Caballero made an impact today. Regardless of the fact that maybe he didn't hit a home run or do anything crazy, his at-bats against Garrett Crochet, in my opinion, were huge. He made Crochet work. And I think that is something that's not talked about enough. You're making a possible Cy Young winner work. You're working the count. You're building up the count, which then in turn helps the guys behind you, and you're in the 9 spot. So behind you, you're talking about Goldschmidt, Bellinger, Judge, and Stanton. Like, I feel like Caballero did his job today, and he played good defense. So, What do you think, Rich?
And there was almost a moment there in the 8th inning. He had that bloop into right center field, and I was like thinking, oh my God, this is the White Sox hit he had like a week ago, and Abreu and who is the outfielder out? But the 2 outfielders almost came to a crash in right center field. So Abreu and Duran, that's it. So it would have been obviously pivotal if that would have happened, and they ended up being able to communicate at the very tail end of that to send that game to the 9th inning. As far as tomorrow's game goes, no, I love Caballero. I really think the only role for him in a starting 9 in a game like tomorrow would have been shortstop, but the way Volpe played today, I think Caballero's sitting the bench, and that's fine. This is a guy who's got extreme versatility. He could spell some guys late in the game if need be, and he is your number 1 go-to guy in a pinch runner situation. Now, I think the question becomes, all right, who in the game are you willing to sacrifice if there's an opportunity that you may see that at bat come through again for Caballero to go up there and hopefully steal a base and not get picked off? That's going to be a question for tomorrow. But Caballero, I think, is his versatility and his ability to swipe bases is going to come into fruition, but it's going to happen from the bench and not from the starting lineup, swiping left. Yeah,
I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I'm swiping right. I just don't think Ryan McMahon has done enough to impress me to warrant him earning the starting job. I was against the trade from the beginning. He still hasn't done anything to impress me. Caballero's defense was just fine to me. And his at-bats were good today, so I'm swiping right.
Okay. All right. Okay. So agree to disagree on that. How many of these we got? We got one more, right?
One more. We have the second baldest man on the team who is, up for conversation. We got Paul Baldschmidt, apparently. Listen, there was a lot of talk going into today's game about Goldie and if he still had anything in the tank. I want to apologize to Goldschmidt because I think I called him 39 years old the other day. He's actually 37. But either way, he's not a young –
I think he recently celebrated a birthday. He's 38.
Oh, okay. Okay, so all right. Well, I was
still I'm just saying, like, he's old.
I made him older than he is, but he's not a spring chicken, right? Like, he's out there.
Oh, no.
He's played a lot of seasons, but we're talking about a guy who has multiple Gold Gloves. We're talking about a guy who the first half of the season was a big part of this offense, and a guy who showed up today and gave you 2 quality singles that unfortunately his teammates did not capitalize on.
Right. Yeah, again, it's a tough one, but it's in that Bermuda Triangle between Goldschmidt, Rice, and Wells, who you're willing to sit or start. And in this case, I don't want to sacrifice the defense at first base. So even though I might get a tailback on offense, and Goldschmidt can shock you sometimes with maybe that one hit against a right-handed starter, I would still rather start Goldschmidt at first base and shore up my infield defense for tomorrow's game. So the way I have that trio working out is Wells is hitting the bench, Goldschmidt's starting at first base, and Rice is starting behind the plate. Will they do that? Probably not. They're probably going to start Wells, and they're probably going to start Rice at first base tomorrow. But no, I mean, shout out to Goldschmidt for today's performance, 2 for 4. It's a shame that he started, two of the big innings where the Yankees could have gotten going, and they did not. So again, it is what it is, but I think tomorrow's a day where I need my best defense at first base. I need my best defense in the infield altogether. So Goldschmidt's at first. I'm swiping right.
All right. I'm also swiping right. I can't see a lineup without Goldschmidt in it just based on the defense alone. And also just he performed very well today. So that wraps up this episode of PinSwipes. If you're late to the chat, just are you swiping left or right on Goldschmidt? Is he going to play tomorrow? Are you benching him for somebody else? Is Ben Rice playing? Where is he playing? Who knows? Is Stanton playing? Who knows? All I know is if I was Max Fried, I would be fighting everybody today. I went out there. I gave you the best start ever. I didn't give up any runs. Somehow we lost. Like, I would be so upset if I was him. But thank you so much, everybody, for stopping by the Clubhouse for episode 4. It was short and sweet. It was just a quick post game. I'm sorry if you were looking for a crash out. All those are over on Twitter. Over here, we are fun and sparkly. We are 3 days out from a new Taylor Swift album, so I can't use any angry energy. Depending on what the Yankees do this postseason, we'll see you back here soon. Tomorrow's October, so Stanton will be showing up for you. Good night, Pussies.